Time when I invite our very, very special person on the stage who has been with us since our first National Teachers Congress, Dr. Joske Bunders, who's the Director, Professor of Biology and Society, HOD, Department of Biology and Society from University of Amsterdam, Fu University. Please put your hands together and welcome Dr. Joske Bunders.
Very good. Okay. Namaskar. Good afternoon, everybody. It's wonderful to be here with you. I'm from the Free University from Amsterdam, and I'm asked to talk about the European-Indian cooperation. And that is something which is so close to my heart. So I really am very happy to do that and discuss with you. Like most of you, I have different roles and perspectives on higher education. I'm a teacher, I'm a PhD guide, which also means teacher. I'm a mother for children who have to choose their universities, the children. And I'm also director of the Athena Institute. And in that position, I have developed and executed many cooperations within Europe, with European partners, but also all over the world, and especially with India. And I feel that the most intriguing question is, what are the similarities and differences between the two different educational systems in Europe and in India? Similarities we know more or less because we have this globalization and formalities. And we in our university have one more similarity with you, and that's a very special one, and that's perhaps also why I feel so much at home with you, because we have our leader, our head of all the research and all the education. We call that position Rector Magnificent. He is Dr. Vino Subramaniam. So you understand that at the Free University we are led by an Indian. But for us, he also feels very much Dutch. So we are very, very happy with him. But that is a similarity about leadership. But what are the differences? And I think there are huge differences. And that is an interesting thing, that there are differences. Because why would you cooperate with people who are the same? Then what have you to exchange? So what I would like to say, to talk about a bit, is about our European education system. And what I've understood from the Indian education system. What are the strengths? And then, is it possible that we cooperate on the basis of the strengths, and that perhaps by cooperating, both our weaknesses in Europe and you in India perhaps are reduced because we enhance our strengths? So let me start with Europe. In Europe, the last 40 years, we had a transition. I had a transition from education in monodisciplinary fields towards interdisciplinary fields. I am from the older generation. I studied physics and chemics, and these were two completely different fields. What was the reason for this complete transformation which happened in our system? The idea was that master students and PhD students and bachelor students should be able, after their degree, to work in society, to have jobs, or to stay also in the university, but being able to deal with problems, to deal with complex problems. And most complex problems, whether it's in the business world, whether it's in other worlds, they cannot be solved by a monodisciplinary approach, by only chemistry, for example. So that was the reason that the feeling was that we should have interdisciplinary teaching programs which have different fields together, which would allow us to be more, to develop the students in a better way and to have them better job satisfaction and better job effectiveness. But of course you understand that only with interdisciplinarity, it's still academic, different academic fields. So how can you solve problems in your field outside the university if you only have academic knowledge? So obviously we felt in Europe what is needed is a sort of link, a sort of integration with the field, with the future job position, with what's happening in society, with civic society. And if you look at how our education is structured, you can see that we have 5 sort of integration mechanisms. I will be very brief, but the first is very essential for us in Europe, that we in all our courses have a balance and an interaction between theory on the one hand and practice on the other. So we lecture, but the student has assignments and need to be able to apply the theory or to have a problem and to find out whether or not a theory is helpful or not helpful for dealing with the problem. So this link between theory and practice is extremely important part in our education. Then the second part is related to the aim. The aim of the teaching is to make experts in their fields, but also to solve, as I said, problems in society. So how to make sure that students can solve complex problems in society in the different fields. And then, therefore, the idea was that we should cooperate closely, and we do that already now for decades, closely with the most important partners in society. So with the business world, the government, the NGOs, the civic society, all of them work hard, have difficulties, have needs, have knowledge needs, which they like to connect with the universities and to find out if students can deal with their problems, whether they can analyze it in depth and when they can make suggestions for solutions. So this is the second integration mechanism, that we have close connections with these groups and that we often sit with them and find out what are their needs. And we also have tools and research tools for it to do needs assessments. The third integration mechanism, and perhaps that is a bit European, is that we are very careful that there is not a new type of silo which starts if the university is working with the business world separate and with the, for example, civic society or the community in another program. Then still we can have different silos which are developing knowledge but which are not integrated. And from the perspective of sustainability, of having a society in which there is space for everybody and well-being, possibility and prosperity for everybody, but also environmental issues and sustainability for the businesses themselves. So from that sustainability perspective, it is felt in Europe that the business and the NGOs and the civic society and the government should sit together to formulate also these questions. So we make with them research agenda or teaching agendas, and they work together so that we don't stimulate differentiation between the groups and perhaps also include or introduce more inequality, because that is in Europe an important issue, that we feel that the countries that we are happier, the more access everybody has to resources and to jobs. So that means that in fact focus on business aspects for the poorer segments of society and innovation for them is as impossible as working with the business and make them and help them and assist them to find out what are the social aspects, what are the environmental aspects, so that together we hope we work towards a more sustainable development. And this reflects also in the research institutes. Okay. And then our last integration mechanism is making sure that it is also needed that students learn from each other. How can you learn from society if you don't learn together? So we have a lot of work assignments, work group assignments in which they work in groups. And how is to show you how looks a week in our institute? It's not more, in our university, it's not more than 10 hours of lecturing per week. The rest is individual assignment and groups assignment. So you see here the integration mechanisms. Now I come to India, and in India, well, we can see that in science and nature, the Indians are coming up more and more. So there is a very strong research part there, which is backed up, obviously, with also teaching programs. But there is, of course, much more to say about the strengths of India. And that's the numbers, the huge numbers, and the diversity of universities. But there is also the culture, and the culture, I think, is extremely important. And the culture is, for example, to say that you love your teacher is impossible in our countries. We would never say that. We also don't have, like the Indians, a deep feeling that very deep everybody is one. I have not met any Indian who not feels like that. In my country, never people talk about it. My university is a Christian university, and there we also don't think that. And also the way of happiness, how to reach happiness through open heart, as the Dalai Lama said, by knowledge, which we are all in university addicted to understand something. If our students understand something, there is a sort of space which is coming, and sort of happiness around this. This is the second path, and the selflessness. So these ideas of how you become happy are very clear in India, perhaps not always followed, but these are lacking with us. We don't have this connection with these deeper values. But there is also an integration mechanism in India, and that is, for example, the linkage between the modern sciences and the traditional sciences. So that link and the link with the deeper values, I think, is very specific for the Indian educational system. And it's an enormous strength, because you see you have now two different systems. One who is more integrating towards society and to make scientific tools and processes and integrate with research. So we have developed a whole toolkit of possibilities in order to assist our students teaching. But in India, there is this other possibility. There is this option for a different integration. Well, if you have them together, and tonight you will be hopefully all in the Connect sessions, and there we will use some of our teaching methodologies, and we hope that you come and that you, as your teachers, sit down together, discuss what you feel are the strengths and the challenges in your own institution, and what sort of solutions can you find together. And I'm sure that your results and your thinking is as important as what is here from the front, and that it will seriously help the framing of policies, and hopefully also the policies in your own situation, in your own institution. I think this beautiful merging of different systems, it gives such a possibility of doing new things and such more European projects. I cannot elaborate on them, but there are many, many options to make sure that you in your own institutions participate in them and that we can move together. I think the future of India, and specifically the students and your own staff development, is in your hands, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.